Yo, what's up guys? Today's video is going to be a jungle macro game where I'm just going to show you really how I utilize macro in this game to really outplay my opponents, get a really good early lead, and then keep that lead throughout the game. You guys really seem to like the Varus video yesterday about ADC macro, and I'm going to continue to release a lot of videos talking about macro and different roles, and this video isn't the only, tips that you could have for macro and jungle. These are just going to be some good things to kind of give you guys insight into, and certainly in the future I'll continue to make more jungle and other role-based macro guides. So once again, we're just going to skip throughout the replay and kind of just explain my thought process here. So the first thing is the enemy jungle is an Olaf, and what that means is that he's going to start blue buff because he needs his axes and he needs a lot of mana to clear quicker. So I know he's starting blue buff and I'm matching him on this pathing, but you're going to notice what I do here, and that's right after getting all of these camps. I don't end up contesting Scuttle because I know he's probably going to contest it. Instead, I immediately recall, and then I end up getting vision knowing that he's not that he's already taken the Scuttle. I know that he's going to be back clearing the rest of his camps. Meanwhile, I get a Sheen on my recall, so I'm now stronger than him, and I have time to go bot side because he's going to be stuck top side due to the fact that he cleared Scuttle and therefore has to spend more time clearing. I'm going to go straight to this Scuttle to get level 5 and then look for an immediate play on bot lane because my teammates have the push in the lane. I have a good early lane with the Caitlyn and the Soraka, and I'm going to look for a potential dive or gank onto the Nami. So you can see, because I know that Olaf won't be here right away, I use my invisibility to surprise them and get an easy little pick on the Nami there just through understanding the enemy jungle pathing because of where he started, that he won't be there right away. I have time to make a play, and then at this point he could now be here because it's been enough time has passed where he's already cleared his top side. I don't know where he is, so I'm again going to take another recall. You can see how when I don't have anything to do early game, I can take these recalls for these small item power spikes that can actually give me a really big advantage. Now their Olaf does a good job of knowing that I have to have recalled here and takes my Krugs away, but because I know he's wasted his time taking my Krugs, I'm now going to continue my tempo advantage by clearing my side of the map here, and now I know he's going to be clearing his blue side, so I go and take his Krugs. This allows me to have enough gold to then get Trinity Force, and typically playing around Trinity Force or whatever your first item is as jungle is really important. You're going to see I'm going to go farm my blue buff and then get that item spike. So now I'm at a point where I understood the enemy jungle's pathing. I have a gold lead on him. I was able to get my bot lane further ahead as well, and I was able to get my first item all before the first dragon. Now that we're deciding on where to path, and don't worry about this, I was just changing the music on my stream here, but now that we're deciding where to path in terms of dragon or herald, I know that I want to go to dragon. I'm going to pull up the scoreboard in a second here, and I'm going to pause and explain to you guys based on the scoreboard why I want to do what I want to do. It looks like right here. Okay, so if you look at it, my top lane and their top lane are very even, but Riven is a much stronger early game champion than Mordekaiser, due to the fact that Riven is just stronger early game, can get resets, can really one-shot me even on these items that they currently have. My Caitlyn, Soraka, I know are winning the lane and have good push, and Ezreal before hitting Manamune and actually stacking it up is not going to be especially strong. Karma is quite behind, so I have the luxury of kind of deciding where I want to go as well. And for all of those reasons, I'm going to go towards the dragon because that's my stronger lane, and I know I can play around that. So I'm going to immediately start the dragon here. We're going to see, it looks like, yeah, I skipped a little, but we're going to immediately start the dragon. As you're going to see, the reason for that is because I know we'll win a fight for all of the reasons that I spoke about. Now I see here, this is extremely important, so I really want to note this. The enemy stole the mimic, or took the mimics, so I know that the Olaf is on the other side of the map. This means that I have, obviously, time to make a play on the bottom side of the map, so I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to sweep around this vision here so that they cannot see me, and then I'm going to use my invisibility for my second ability to sneak up on them, and then immediately ult them as soon as I get on top of them. I'm going to flash so that I can blow them up as quick as possible, and then even though we don't end up getting the kill, what we do allow ourselves to do is take turret plates, and that's really what matters. Focusing on the turret plates after you make a play is very important as a jungle as well. You don't always just need to go for kills. They end up getting pushed off, they're going to lose a lot of gold. I don't see a kill angle, so I don't overforce it. I just go for the turret, and then Olaf does look killable because I knew the enemy backed off here. And so we do kill the Olaf there as well. I use this time to then go and take their Scuttle Crab, and then I believe I do take the blue buff as well because I know the enemy Olaf is dead. So you're going to see we do actually get in a pretty sticky situation here. But we kind of outplay it, and playing, making these more aggressive, risky plays where I do know that I have tempo on the enemy jungler are good because of the fact that I'm a very good early game champion. Wukong, Vi, Volibear, Xin Zhao, these types of champs they really are effective in making these early game plays and kind of utilizing that one camp advantage again of, say, I know he had to get that scuttle when early game when I didn't have to get it. I'll have that extra 10 or 20 seconds on the bottom side, and I'm really going to make use of that. And then when he's on the Herald, for example, I'm going to make use of that time to then make a play on bot side. When he had to recall because I just killed him here, I'm going to make use of that time to take their blue buff. So you can see how I'm always making use of this 10 or 20 second timers to then get ahead a camp or two, take some extra camps, use that time to then make a play. And then I want to make another important note here, and that's that the enemy are aggressing really hard bot lane, and I am still on the top side. Now, the reason for that is because I spent a lot of time on the bottom side of the map, and I don't want to waste additional time when I have all of my top side camps up. So I have to allow my teammates to maybe die, to maybe outplay, you know, whatever happens, happens, and I just have to accept that I need to farm. Additionally, I know that Olaf is probably going to be top side because I was bot side when he was bot side, and usually if we were clearing camps at a similar time, we're then going to be clearing camps at a similar time on the opposite side of the map as well. Despite this, I decide not to help my Mordekaiser because I have 3,000 gold, and so I am very weak. Riven is a very strong skirmishing champion, so is Olaf. Olaf just recalled, or rather died, but dying will let them recall and buy items. And so I know I'm not on a strong item spike here. I don't want to throw my lead by trying to overforce and overprotect all of my lanes. If they end up dying there, then they die. It's okay. I just need to accept that I can't control more than I actually want to. And so then they end up getting that topside turret. But because they waste their time on that topside turret, and I know that the Olaf has camps that he wants to farm, well, I have no camps that I want to farm. I use this time to then start sweeping and looking for aggressive plays because I'm now looking for a fight, looking for invades, looking for something because I don't have camps to farm. So you can see this constant cycle of me farming one side of the map, using my knowledge of where the enemy jungler is to then either make an aggressive play or recall. Again, recalling if I know the enemy jungler is there or I know that I don't have a gank opportunity, and making a quick play on the map if I know that the enemy jungler is stuck on the other side of the map for a little bit due to their camps being farmed, or seeing them on the other side of the map, or these various factors. And then when I don't have camps up, I'm again looking for these more aggressive plays as well, right after I've just cleared a lot of my camps. You can see here I'm looking for something. Obviously nothing really ends up showing up, and that's the thing too. You don't have to overforce if something doesn't show up. You just go right back once your camps farm or camps spawn, and then you can see how my small camps on the same side of the map spawn at a very similar time because of the fact that I cleared them at a very similar time before. So clearing them in quick succession allows you to then be able to make a lot of quick plays on them. You're going to see again, I just cleared my 2 camps on my bottom side of the map. Even though I have a top side camp up, I'm not going for it yet because I'm waiting for my red buff to spawn. I'm going to get my red buff first, and then once all of my top side camps are up, I can farm those again. So you can see it's always a cycle of one side, the other side, one side, the other side, as much as you could possibly do it. So instead, I use this time to then look for a possible invade onto the Olaf and see if anything can happen. Now nothing happens, and that's fine. A dragon is spawning in about 35 seconds, and so after that I need to back off and make sure that I recall after getting my red buff so that I can then get items. And so that's exactly what I end up doing. I skipped a bit in the wrong direction here, but you can see we end up getting our red buff and then recalling so we can spend our gold and then go right back to setting up for the objective because I know it's spawning. So then we're just going to play a fight out here. I'm not going to necessarily show the specifics of the fight because again, it's more of a macro focused video where I'm just kind of taking you guys through the decision making during different parts of the game, but we get a triple kill, and that's a lot of the that's due to the fact that I was quite strong item wise because I reset right before the objective. I've been farming effectively and making a lot of good plays to put myself in the lead. And then through here, you know, at this point in the game, you can see I'm really just focused on farming as much as possible because of the fact that we're quite ahead, and I just want to keep that lead. I want to look for potential invades if I see angles. And then I'm going to use my item advantage here and seeing Olaf on the other side of the map to look for a 1v1 on Riven. I thought I would win it a lot harder than I did, honestly. The Riven was, despite being quite behind in terms of gold, very much able to almost 1v1 me there. So that was a bit more risky than I anticipated. But it did work out, and playing around those level advantages was the idea there. And then now you can see I'm always kind of, after I clear my bottom side camps, going straight to top side and making plays around there. And you can see how even though some of my bottom side camps are up, I'm a bit more okay with not farming them right away because of the fact that Baron's up. And so when Baron's up, I start shifting my focus as much as I can to the Baron. And then once they're backed off or I know there's not a threat of Baron, I'll go and farm these camps really quickly. But you can see how I farm the camps. I end up knowing that I'm close to Sterix, and because my team is hovering on the top side of the map, I'm not worried about the enemy getting Baron. But right after I get enough for Sterix, I recall and I get right back onto the top side because I'm playing around that objective timer. You can see how really the main focus of most of my gameplay is I'll make sure that I can get myself as much gold as possible in the early game by keeping track of enemy jungle, looking for ganks that benefit me, and constantly farming as much as I can possibly do so. And then once objectives spawn, my focus kind of shifts to the objectives and making decisions based around which objective I want to go for. Are the enemy contesting an objective? These types of things. And then again, after that cycle of an objective or whatever, which once again we're making a fight because we know an objective's up here, I'll then shift back to farming. Now, an interesting note here is that I back the enemy off. I know they're not going to contest this objective, and so I make an interesting play, which you wouldn't necessarily typically do, but is more of a sort of high elo thing where I know they're not going to contest because they're not going to be dumb enough. I know that one of the enemies is sovereign, and I know the jungler as well, so I know they're pretty good players. And so I expect them to try to make a topside play potentially for Baron. And so instead of just staying on the dragon the whole time, I let my team take it, and then I go for a quick play here where they won't expect me. We end up getting lucky and seeing the Ezreal on vision here, and you're going to see I make a play with my invisibility to actually end up catching him out. And so this is more of a small macro play that I wouldn't necessarily recommend you guys making very frequently, but in this situation I saw kind of a unique angle to get a pick onto the Ezreal. And then once again I'm going to want to recall because I have my item, and so I'm going to recall, then I'm going to farm my bot side, and you notice again, farm the bot side, go top side right away because Baron's up. It's always about the subjective timers in terms of where I'm going to actually farm, so then we look to make a more aggressive play and get kind of the control over the map so that we can look for a Baron play. We get a pick on Karma. Olaf has Ghost, he does not have Flash, and so I know that I can start this Baron even though Olaf is alive, and we can just turn on to Olaf if he shows up. You see he tries to just axe up the wall, but he can't actually do anything because he doesn't have his Flash, and then we're able to force that Baron, recall, and set up quite nicely for the Elder Dragon. Now that we have the Baron, our focus shifts to the Elder Dragon because that is where the next important objective is spawning. So now I'm going to hover towards the bottom side of the map, and I'm going to look for vision on the bottom side of the map. I'm going to walk up aggressively here. I'm going to sweep throughout and try to get complete control over this area so that the enemy have a really hard time walking into us. So a lot of this just overall gameplay is focused on, first, again, we talked about the early game. I explained to you guys how I got the lead. And then once you have that lead, taking over the map as much as possible through farming efficiently on your side of the map so that you have more time to then make plays. And then when you're playing around the objectives, you make sure that you get vision and kind of sweep deeply, look for potential plays to surprise the enemy and everything like that. And then we're going to just easily get the Elder Dragon here. I'm going to find an angle to kill someone. We're just going to, get the Elder. The rest of this game is pretty smooth. We're obviously just using our insane lead to then easily kill the rest of the enemy. And yeah, that's pretty much how I utilize my macro decision making to really carry a game on jungle and make a game just completely unplayable for the enemy through jungle tracking and just efficiency and all those types of things. Let me know what you guys think about this type of format. Would you like more for jungle and for other roles similar to the ADC one that I had yesterday as well? As always as well, if you're interested in coaching for just $15 an hour, I do coach people. I'm a rank 5 sovereign autofill player, so I feel like I can be pretty valuable in terms of providing information for you guys. So just DM me on Discord, Talon1169, or do the link in the description if you're interested in that, and I'll see you guys in the next video.